What is going on, everybody? It is episode 153 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Please introduce yourself, please.
Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary.
How you doing today?
I'm good.
I hit you with the please introduce yourself, please. Two pleases in one sentence.
Please. It was weird hearing you say 153. It just sounds like a very high number.
I know. I was looking down to make sure, because like when we're doing the thumbnails and everything every day, I have to make sure we're getting the right stuff, and got that. Had to change the month to July, so we're all in order here today, guys. And we have a guest. Please introduce yourself.
What's up,
sir.
everybody? Ian Crossland up in here. Good to see you.
Choo choo.
Yeah, choo choo, bitches.
We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Ian was on for one of the earlier versions of the Ezra Miller saga. I literally, it's become so much that I had no idea
I don't remember what day that was.
And there have been so many that I have no idea which one.
Which insane story was it that we
It was the one where he took the girl out of the country, and she was like 16, the activist from the Native American.
Well, since then, there's been another 12-year-old, current 12-year-old that he was exposed for grooming.
Unbelievable. It's like I didn't know what to name the episode, so I just named it Ezra Miller's Journeys Abroad or something like that, because it's just like it's too insane. It's Mad Libs. So we've got that. We are going to talk about J.K. Rowling and the fact that capitalism is king when it comes to money for these companies. The idea here is that Warner Brothers defended her, but it is not because they are bastions of any type of ideology. They just they know that they can make money off of her, and we'll get into that. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about Howard Stern and how I really do believe this might be the pinnacle of like proving that these franchises like Marvel and DC, they are just empty shells of something for celebrities to expand their profile, and they don't actually like these things. They for the most part hate them, but use them to elevate who they are, or in Howard Stern's case, stay relevant. So we've got those. We got Podluck. So if you guys are ready, we'll just get right into it. Mary, are we ready?
We are so ready.
Thank you. Oh, right in front of your camera too. Perfect. Ian, good to go?
Yeah, man.
All right, let's do this. So it says, the name of this article says, Ezra Miller accused of harassing woman in Germany, and Iceland choking victim breaks their silence. So to break it down first, do you want to just tell people about the Iceland incident?
Yeah, so this article rehashes some things that we've already covered, so I don't want to get too deep into that. But they got in contact with the bartender who personally witnessed the viral video of him choke slamming the woman outside the bar in Iceland.
Who is not to be named. She didn't want to be named.
Yeah, she still is remaining anonymous. So that only happened because they halted filming for Secrets of Dumbledore.
Yep.
And he decided to just keep hanging out in Iceland. I don't know why they didn't have any lockdown measures there, but good for them, I guess.
Very based. For Iceland, you just be like, we're just like, we draw the line at not being able to drink in public. Yeah,
so Ezra Miller does what he does best. He just started being a regular at Iceland bars in Reykjavik. I am not even going to come close to being able to pronounce this particular pub, but he became familiar with the people working there and the regulars there. And at first, everyone was getting along, and people liked him. He has a very open personality. They like to talk about philosophy and things like that. But the bartender was interviewed by Variety, and he came early to his shift the day that this altercation happened. He said, "We brushed it off as two friends getting drunk and getting in a fight. It's Iceland. That happens twice a week."
Beautiful.
But Miller was confronting the woman, asking, "Do you want to fight? Is that what you do?" Grabbed her neck, and then gently lowered her to the ground. I don't know if choke slamming is exactly the word to use for it, but, close enough.
Very much.
And the bartender had to get in the middle of it. That's when her friend stopped recording. I was wondering if they had like security footage of this happening, but I guess not.
I guess not.
So this bartender had to personally intervene, and multiple people had to pull him off of the woman because he continued yelling in her face and holding her down. He also spit in her face. And then what ended up happening was he also spit in the bartender's face. He got locked out of the pub, then from the side entrance, I believe. Then this bartender recounted that he had to run over to the front entrance and lock it before Ezra Miller, who
there's a lot of entitlement in that behavior, by the way.
Yeah, and Ezra Miller ran around the perimeter of the building to get to the front, and then started like trying to bang down the door. Mm-hmm. And when he realized he wasn't going to be allowed back inside, he got picked up by two of his friends in Iceland, whoever those people were. I'd love for them to reach out.
Follow us here.
I want to know like why you're trying to save this man.
Well, this was a long time. Granted, this is before a lot of this information had come out. And then so that leads to what happened after that. Was there more from that story, or do we just go right into Nadia?
Let's get into Nadia, because this was more like we're just rehashing that because the viral video came out after the viral video came out, and then Nadia recalled that she saw it, and then she assumed that they were just playing around because she met Ezra Miller shortly after that. She asked him about it, and he acted like, oh, it was just, we were just playing around, like it wasn't serious.
And to be fair, like if you don't know the other stories that have come out yet, and one video can be interpreted any number of ways. You know, if you know somebody fairly well, you're liable to give them the benefit of the doubt.
But maybe. She didn't even know him well.
But in general, the media. I mean, we harp a lot on the idea that you can't really trust the media, and that doesn't mean just because it might confirm something that you think is true doesn't mean you should trust it anymore than if it's something that you find disagreeable, right? So she at least gets the benefit of the doubt there. So she met him at a gallery opening, right?
That was in Los Angeles when they first met.
But she is from Berlin, and her name is Nadia.
Yes.
And she talks about she has a 2-year friendship with Miller, which was mostly via text message. The actor came to her apartment in Berlin late one evening in February of 2022 at her invitation. They had seen each other before. They had a consensual sexual encounter in 2020. But after a friendly interaction, Miller's mood sharply turned when she told them that they couldn't smoke in their home. So that was the thing that
I thought it
was
weird that he never booked a hotel in Berlin. Instead, he texted her at 4 a.m. being like, hey, I just showed up.
If he just got in, I suppose it's possible he might not have been able to get into his hotel till check-in time. Right? I mean,
I don't know.
So it says, so when they're talking about this incident where like they couldn't smoke, right? Where they couldn't smoke. It says that just set them off. Nadia said, I asked them to leave about 20 minutes, maybe more. Then they started insulting me. I'm a transphobic piece of S. I'm a Nazi. It became so stressful for me. They were going around my house, looking at everything, touching everything, spreading tobacco leaves on the floor. It felt very disgusting and intrusive. This is after, so basically he shows up at her apartment at 4 a.m, and they exchange pleasantries. They get along well enough, but then as soon as he's told not to do something, it goes bad.
He said he's a maker of planets and tobacco is sacred to him.
Whatever that means.
That was his first response when she said, please don't smoke inside my apartment.
Tobacco in South America is known as the father, where they say ayahuasca is the mother. People will do like Tabasco fasts or Tabasco.
Tabasco. That'd be dangerous.
Hardcore.
That'd be hardcore.
Tobacco fasts where they'll eat nothing, drink nothing, but what they'll do is boil tobacco leaves and then drink it and then puke up the liquid and have these insane psychedelic trips just off of tobacco. Apparently it's a very hardcore spiritual element article, I guess you would call it. But I don't know. Smoking a cigarette's a little different story. I don't know if he was planning on doing a religious fast or something.
He continued on a tirade, she said, saying he could do whatever they want, whenever they want.
This is also another thing that's important to point out that we've both found fascinating about this is like they go out of their way to point out that like this first lady, like we don't know whether they knew that Ezra Miller went by they, them pronouns. I'm like, he's not even respecting anybody else's personal space, well-being, or wishes from a person in their own home. Why should they be held to account for not understanding what the hell his pronouns are? That's insane.
That caveat was added when the Icelandic woman who remained anonymous was recounting her story of being choked by him. They were like adding, she apparently didn't use the correct pronouns when recounting that experience, and they had to add a little note there correcting her. strangely enough.
Why are these media outlets going out of their way to do that when the behavior is awful?
I wish I
Thank
knew.
you.
I wish I understood, but it's clearly something he uses to bludgeon people and use fear, because he immediately accused this woman in Berlin of transphobia because he was trespassing in her apartment. He even went into her bedroom, and then when she asked him to leave, he
accused her of
he said that he is a victim of our word.
Yep.
And she was triggering him.
I'm gonna read part of this word for word. I'll try to omit the cuss words it says and this I'm quoting word for word. She said, "They starting with the 'I'm a maker of planets, tobacco is sacred.'" Miller continued on a tirade. She said, "Then they could do whatever they want whenever they want." And basically, when Nadia stood up to insist that the guests should honor their host's house rules, they looked at me with this really mean, stern face and told me sit down, like they were ordering a dog. Nadia told Miller as much. Their reply, she said, "Yes, I'm talking to you like a dog." I'm not respecting the pronouns of someone who talks to someone like that. I'm not. You do not get the benefit of the doubt anymore. I'm sorry. It says, they said, "It's okay if you talk to me like this, then it's time for you to go," she said. And she's like being like weirdly, like, one thing that I've noticed is everyone goes out of their way to like accommodate this dude. Like every time something like this happens, after this whole incident, she says, "I looked up on the internet to see if something bad had happened in his life, to see if maybe there was a reason for it." So he's been given every chance by everyone. And it says, so she says, but Miller did, when she asked Ezra to leave, Miller didn't. Instead, that they escalated, accusing Nadia of being transphobic and a Nazi. "I asked them if they would remember. I told them that I'm a descendant of a Holocaust survivors. So why would you say that to me?" she said. "They answered, screaming at me, 'Yes, but how many people of my family died?' Because many people in their family died." I was like, oh, okay. This is a game of who's got the most trauma. And they love the people who love the progressive stack, who love the idea of the oppression Olympics, love the idea of who has the, you only win by being the person who's the most aggrieved, who's suffered the most at the hands of, this is a multi-million-dollar actor, and she is a woman living in Berlin in the modern day world. These are not people that are necessarily not victims of generational trauma, but when you make it literally a quest to figure out which of you has that, and the whole thing is done with malice.
Was Ezra Miller referring to himself as being a descendant of Holocaust survivors?
I believe so, but I can't confirm that. So it says Nadia disengaged. "The only thing I said to them was leave my house, go away, can you leave now?" Like a broken record. Miller persisted, stalking her apartment. "I told them I was calling the police, but because they were refusing to leave," she said. "And while I was calling the police, Ezra was calling the police or pretending to call the police." They love to use these types of tactics. Again, it's like when Ezra Miller got arrested and started calling a police officer transphobic. And threatening them if they didn't respect his pronouns, that they would file a hate crime complaint. It's cry bullying. They are literally bullying you.
He said it's a federal hate crime to call him by like Mr.
Also, I want to keep
anything male pronouns.
I also want to point out that this incident with a woman who he was sexually had a sexual encounter with, all his incidents have also been with biological females. But when he got arrested in Hawaii, he said, I am non-binary, transgender. I want a female police officer to search me. That's on purpose, and that is blatant and evil.
And falsely, I would guess, falsely accused the male officer of like groping him.
Yep. So it says
that never happened.
So it says Miller persisted, stalking her apartment. "I told them I was calling the police. They were refusing to leave." Miller entered Nadia's bedroom, and when she told them to leave, they started to shout that they were a rape survivor. Sorry, I did it. And I was triggering them, she said. So because he said to her, he says, "You asking me to leave your room is triggering me. This is what happens when you cater to insanity. You can't do it. Because imagine you're her, right? He's got all the money. He's got all the power. He's got all the ability to get his story out there. She's just some poor person, unknown woman living in Berlin."
And when he brings up an accusation like that she knows can ruin someone's life, that she's transphobic or a Nazi, he knows the kind of fear that instills in someone, and he says it to to use that against her.
To strike fear into the heart of a person who, like, if you're just like a 20-something living in a liberal city, imagine what getting an accusation like that comes out attached to a famous person so everyone sees it. Your life's not over, but, you know, like, that's the first thing that's going to come up in a headline.
Yeah, my advice to anyone that is going to have Ezra in their house is record him.
Don't do it. Just don't have him in your house.
Have secret cameras on in your house. You're allowed to record anything that's going on in your house. Record him. And something like this has to be shown to the world on video for him to receive accountability.
I also want to point out that there was a really interesting term that she used in here, which was jet set abuse, which is very, very telling of, like, what this is. He's literally, by virtue of his privilege, his status and money, he's able to just travel around the world and basically use and abuse people and get no repercussions from the studio that's employing him. The cops arrest him and he's let out a couple hours later because he's got great lawyers. And it's going to keep happening, and yet the studio has made no, like, I mean, to be fair, I don't know what the hell they say in this case. Like, what do they say?
It's hearsay. A lot of this is hearsay.
Yes.
I don't see any evidence of it except for what people have told me.
I guess in this case, the idea would be preponderance of evidence. There's video of the choke slamming of the woman.
Well, there's something.
There's video of him at the bar in Hawaii. All that stuff, there are videos to it. And the things about him threatening a cop are on video too. There is more than enough video to prove that he has used these tactics before.
Did you see the choke slam?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we can even
I'd love to see it.
Was that
because maybe it was a gentle grab and lay down. Who knows? Maybe they were deep in the passionate, emotional conversation and you wanted to rest her body.
I wouldn't call
doubt
it that.
But I think what might have happened is, are you seeing the video?
Yeah. It's there on the screen up here. If you look over it, Ian.
Sweet. Oh, it's bright in there. Oh my gosh.
It's not very gentle.
Yeah, that's assault for sure.
Yeah. And in fact, do you want to go back up and read some of the story from that? Because since we're on that topic, we can go back there. The story of the woman in Berlin was more. It's the emotional abuse of calling her a Nazi and all of this stuff. That's very clearly. Thank you. That's very clearly done to manipulate emotionally to people. That's extremely terrifying. And when you have identity markers that are fashionable and you're able to use that as a defense, they get away with a lot.
Yeah. So it says. In April 2020, her initial interactions with him felt at first to be in a barbed yet easygoing vein. When she told Miller to meet her in the smoking area, she said she meant it as a joke, and it appeared that Miller took it as one when they remained inside after she said it.
And to be fair, when you're drinking, that, you know.
A friend of the woman approached Miller and told them that he'd heard the actor didn't want to fight. My friend didn't have to say that, the woman allowed. It was just a joke, obviously, but Miller took that literally and got super mad and came running outside. That's when one of the woman's friends started recording it. I think it's just fun and games, but then it wasn't, she said. All of a sudden, they're on top of me, choking me, still screaming in my face, asking if I wanted to fight. My friend who's filming says they're obviously not joking and it's actually serious. He stops filming and pushes them off me as they're still trying to fight me. Two guy friends of mine are holding Miller back as they're screaming, "This is what you wanted? This is what you wanted?" And then this is where they add the caveat that's at the time of the interview. It was unclear whether the woman was aware Miller uses they-them pronouns.
That's what's confusing because when she says they were choking me, it sounds like multiple people.
Yeah,
this is crazy.
The story is actually the language is not easy to understand here. But,
and that's by choice. That he chose to have people call him they, so that it is very, maybe not so it's confusing, but it turns out it's a form of obfuscation when people tell stories about him.
And it's a form of it's a way to censor. I've told the story before. Like, we were doing a story about Demi Lovato, and I got so frustrated trying to get the pronouns right that I just gave up on making the point. And that's, in my opinion, done on purpose. Maybe not from Demi Lovato, but someone like Ezra Miller absolutely wants to make it so difficult for the story to be understood when it's being read that they just give up and kind of let it get memory hold. I
think it's more that he wants to use that status against people, and he runs in circles where maybe not ordinary people, because a lot of ordinary people have never even heard of an identity like that.
Yeah.
But in, the circles that he is in LA and, around an art festival in Berlin, of course, like, people are going to be very careful at walking on eggshells not to offend someone who identifies as non-binary.
Which somebody with very evil proclivities can then use that as a way of protecting themselves.
He's very clearly
thank you,
like, cynically aware that he can use this to control people.
So it says that after speaking with a social worker about her options, Nadia realized that a way to defend herself against reprisal from Miller was to share her experience with a journalist. She reached out to a women's rights advocate while seeking guidance on how to proceed. The source, who also corroborated Nadia's account, put her in touch with Variety. They said that they corroborated these stories with 5 different people. Her meeting Ezra at the gallery opening in Los Angeles was corroborated. So Variety did their homework.
And another thing about them meeting in Los Angeles in 2020 is, like, she got in her Uber, they parted ways, she got in her Uber, and 5 minutes later Miller is sexting her after they just exchanged numbers, and she told him to stop and he stopped. But that just shows he really does not have any social awareness. How things that he says are received. And he also doesn't have to face the consequences for that.
Not yet, but that's the thing. If he keeps going to bars and drinking and aggressing on people and he gets his face broken, he's not going to be very popular anymore, because that's what's making him popular is his face. He looks like John Lennon, like a beautiful John Lennon.
What's interesting, too, is it's if he could just, one of the hardest parts about this is, if he's just in chaos through drugs and alcohol, maybe cutting out, I can't speak to that. I don't know if this is behaviors because he's legitimately a bad person.
I think he might have schizophrenic delusions.
I do not believe that the kind of psychological attacks that he employs, using those labels like Nazi and transphobia on someone, I don't believe that that's a result of drinking. I think that's just being a bad person.
Yeah. And him creating planets, that's delusive thought.
Yeah.
He's not literally creating. Maybe he is outside of the black hole that we're within. He's creating planets, but it's a psychotic thing to say to someone in order to get something you want. I'm God.
He's saying it as if it should make sense to other people. He latches on to things that are not significant and then applies a huge amount of significance to them. We were just looking at they mentioned in this article an incident where he was posting videos on Instagram threatening a very specific local chapter of the KKK in Beulahville, North Carolina.
He just really hates those North Carolina KKK members, not the rest of the KKK.
He was telling them to take their own lives, and then he basically said, and if you decide to keep doing what you're doing, and you know what I'm talking about, then I guess we'll have to do it for you. He basically threatened to kill them.
Yep.
I can kind of identify with this. I kind of had a power trip in my mid-20s when I started making YouTube videos. I had this feeling of no matter what anyone does to me, I can humiliate them publicly if they cross me. And it was I could see the road of cult leader in front of me, and I just had to shake myself out of it and go back to normal.
But then just imagine you're just somebody who's not a good person, and then who knows that they have that ability. And really, anyone of any level of of fame, it's one of my biggest pet peeves is when some rando, when Joe Schmo 32 on Twitter says something leaves a barb to a celebrity. When a celebrity responds, they know that it's going to cause the people that like them to also respond to that person. Now it's on that person for instigating the incident, but I'm always can't you just be the bigger person? You know that responding isn't going to do it. Is it really cost you so much to not, dunk on this dude who's going to get a bunch of your weird fans to then come after them because they said something? We're going to talk about that later with Alec Baldwin. And some stuff on Twitter. Can they just not leave it alone? But somebody like Ezra Miller's not going to be able to do that. They're going to have their opinion heard.
I imagine his family life growing up was not very good. I was fortunate to have phenomenal parents that were still there for me after I went psycho on them. And I'm you don't understand the Federal Reserve, Monsanto. And my mom's Ian, not right now.
We're making dinner, Ian. We can't talk about the Federal Reserve.
You're manic.
There was Luke posted a great meme earlier. He says, I've got a PhD pretty something is like something about not believing the Federal Reserve is gonna
pretty
get
high doubt.
Yeah, that the Federal Reserve's not going to get us out of this recession. So it says now they go down and talk about basically the bar owner from Reykjavik says like he wishes Ezra the best and that whole experience was ridiculous. Nadia is a lot less forgiving of Miller's behavior, but also a bit less concerned about any reprisal from the actor since since they're facing so many other allegations and legal battles. When this happened to her, a lot of this stuff hadn't come out yet, so she was worried that she could be singled out by Miller and turned into some type of a punching bag. But that just proves to you that anybody he seems to come into contact with has to literally form a protective layer around them based on these incidents. It's not just this.
Nadia was also worried for her life because she said fans showed up to her address after fans of Miller showed up to her address after this. She also said that because of those videos that Miller was posting threatening those KKK members, and after knowing that she was called a Nazi by him, she thought, oh, he might actually come to my house and try to hurt me.
Yeah, and you don't know. You don't know, especially with behavior that erratic.
He's extremely unhinged. He also tried to break back into her apartment building after he was originally kicked out because he accidentally left his jacket there, so she had to throw it out.
And remember what she said. She said, "You stole my
passport."
Ezra stole her passport?
No, Ezra left his wallet and jacket in this woman's apartment, and then when she wouldn't answer the door, when he's knocking on the door after she finally got her out of the house, he accuses her of stealing it. That is very manipulative and intentional verbiage. It's evil.
Yeah.
And for all we know, he intentionally left his jacket there so that he could accuse her of that.
We live in a golden age.
And have an excuse to get back inside.
You don't want to be the person that speaks out against this guy. You need video evidence if you're going to implicate this guy. He's got a lot of power right now.
Super chats.
Sean Kelly said, excited for the Friday show. The only person more impressive than Genghis Khan is Ian Crossland.
Holler back.
Wow.
Temu Jin for the win.
That's impressive. Dizwiz said, scary beanie man's gone. It's okay to be Mary.
Okay, no scary beanie man today. Luckily, I don't wear.
Hey,
well, I have
I'm not
beanies.
Scared of Tim. What are you talking about?
Scary beanie man.
He's one of the least intimidating people ever.
Unless he leaves his passport in your house.
Yes, then he's got to get back in. Yeah. He's like, give me my passport.
1,000-foot deep end said, Ezra Miller, do you want to fight? Is that what you do? Sounds like a classic case of projection.
Thank you.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, he said, do you want to fight? And then he choked her out.
Yeah.
Evil,
he was
dude.
like, is that what you do? That's what you do, actually. It's weird how, he's made a hobby out of just hanging out and acquainting himself with people and then ruining their lives.
I also, it's kind of funny because he's never doing this to any famous people. He's only doing this to the us plebs in society. It's not some.
Usually they keep their drama self-contained.
Yeah, they I guess the nicest thing you can say about Ezra Miller is he considers himself one to hang around the common man. Well, he just then abuses the common man when he does it.
It seems like young women.
Yeah.
He's doing this to young women.
Definitely.
And some of them are very young, 14, 15.
Yeah. 12, the one
12.
from Matt. Another reason why the identity that he has cloaked himself in gives him leeway. Can you imagine of a story of a straight adult white male talking like that about 12-year-old children? It would not be tolerated.
He's so young that it hasn't caught up to him yet. But I mean, you see, R. Kelly just got 30 years.
30 years.
I mean,
for stuff like this.
Ezra Miller is 29 already, and
he's so fresh in the public. I didn't even know who he was till we talked about him on the show a month ago.
So
if this keeps happening, and they'll go back and look at all this stuff later, and then it's guilt by association, guilt through you had 19 other accusations. There's video of you choking a girl out.
There's an interesting point there because I don't know how many people he travels with, but one of the things they talk about with R. Kelly was that they charged him under racketeering and basically said your music, the success of your music career, your managers, your assistants, they enabled this behavior which allowed you to get away with it for so long. So who are the people? And obviously if he's traveling by himself, it's not like the people that work for him are going to know every minute of every day of the stuff he does.
But you said he had two friends that came and picked him up from the bar?
From the bar. And that was 2020. That was the beginning of all
locals.
this. Like, I don't know how much of that, like, I'm not willing to put the blame on them I'm not. Like, it's like he's got to own up for his own behavior. I don't know if two dudes picking Ezra Miller up from a bar constitutes them, like, helping him behave badly. So.
And as far as we know, he is in Vermont right now on his farm.
Still not getting served those papers.
Yeah, still not getting served protective order. Still sheltering a woman and her 3 young children with a bunch of guns and bullets loose all over the place.
Also, before we move on, I do want to point out this fake news story that I posted in the Slack yesterday to everyone here. It says, the headline literally read, Elvis did not punch Ezra Miller in a Tokyo bar. And then they changed it here to say Elvis star Austin Butler. But the first time I read it, it just read Elvis did not punch Ezra Miller in a Tokyo bar. I'm like, did somebody break the simulation?
That's a hard one to disprove.
I tapped my computer to make sure it was still real, and I was not like getting messed up in the Matrix. It was a mess. So that was not a real story.
Soci Hobbit said, I do Tabasco all the time. I'm a degenerate.
Don't overdo it.
Be very careful.
Microdose.
Mr. Y. Mr. Y said, have you guys seen the live streams of the Canadians protesting today? Happy Canada Day.
No.
I have not.
I haven't, but I don't pay much attention to Canada anyway, usually.
Good. They should be protesting. I'm getting lit up about the Canadians. Man, they deserve freedom.
What's going on?
Or they can earn it.
What's going on in Canada? Like something new?
Justin Trudeau's a psychopath.
Well, yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, he's overreaching his authority.
Yeah. Banning all guns.
But I don't know. I want to look into it. Maybe we'll talk about it later on IRL.
Yes. Next.
Joseph said Ezra would be a chaotic evil bard, maybe?
He's definitely chaotic evil. If you were to categorize him, chaotic evil.
Evil, maybe. Definitely chaotic.
I view the way he uses language to manipulate people, I believe is evil.
Interesting.
In an age where discourse is done mostly online and a single headline can ruin your life, I think that his language is categorizes him as actually not just I think extremely evil.
Yeah, you might be right. You guys play D&D? You play Dungeons and Dragons?
I haven't.
When I think of evil, I think of murderers, but you don't have to be a killer to be evil.
Not to ruin someone's life either. Not in this day and age. No, I believe I think what he's like, I'm very I'm not prone to hyperbole, but when I say that I do believe that the media in this country is evil, I mean that, and I don't use that term lightly. And I believe that his abuse of language, his use of certain identity markers, and the goodness of people who want to be tolerant and accepting of people, his ability to use that for his own gains, I think that makes him evil.
Wow.
Bad App said, instead of pronouns, let's go back to putting our ASL on social media.
I don't know if Mary knows what ASL means.
I don't know what
sex, location.
I thought she was going to be like American Sign Language.
No.
Yes.
Well, he put his own on after that, so I got the gist.
Okay. 32, male, Florida.
He also said, my pronouns are it, it's, and it's.
Ooh, with an apostrophe and without.
Sorry. It said its pronouns are its. There.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
You retconned your own statement.
Yes. I'm not going to read your name. They said, first-time viewer, saw Mary on Timcast. Good shows. Ian, thank you for trying to suck less.
Well, you're welcome.
That's
choo choo.
mean.
That's a lifelong endeavor.
That's Mary is like yesterday guys, we were in a dead heat battle to get to 30K first with Inverted World, and I was like, Mary, you must go and chill tonight.
Did it work?
We actually reached it before IRL started. So
I'm liking this show right now. Hit that like button.
Hit the like button.
And ding that bell to get notifications.
I never do that because I grew up watching. Well, for the last few years, I've seen too many videos parodying the people who say like, "Hit the like, share, subscribe, hit the like." Yeah, like I can't do it without
self-promotion's weird, man. That's why people in Hollywood have agents, because it is very weird to be like, "I'm the one you want." You need that first follower. It's this this I guess whatever you call this like what do you call it when something phenomenon where. Someone becomes great when they have someone following, the first follower phenomenon, where like people will think like, I don't know if I can trust this guy, he seems good, but as soon as you see someone's following them, then you're way more likely to believe in them for some reason.
Yep. All right, one more.
Raymond G. MAGA Stanley Jr.
It is MAGA month after all.
Oh yeah. Happy July.
We need to talk about Kevin is the foreshadowing of Ezra's real life. Happy MAGA month.
Happy MAGA month.
Yes, I haven't watched We Need to Talk About Kevin, but it's interesting. I guess the premise is he goes to his school and murders his classmates with a bow and arrow.
Oh my gosh.
Is it played by Ezra?
Yes. That was after Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh, and he's a gun guy too.
Is he a good actor?
He's been threatening to shoot people in real life.
And that's the sad thing is like we like us here who like understand and respect firearms and understand the importance of being able to thank you of being able to own firearms and protect yourself are then like lobbied against by an industry who have people like Ezra Miller who collects guns but leaves them out, or Machine Gun Kelly who just keeps a shotgun by his bed. People who don't understand the importance of actual safety.
I would not be surprised if his house gets raided. If there's threats that he's leaving weapons lying about with little kids, that the ATF is not preparing to raid his house.
I would hope that they would at the very least take because they said they did wellness checks on the house, so I don't know if that's like maybe the stuff was left in another room, but you know, who knows how good those checks were.
I don't like appealing to authority in general, but I don't know, man. It's a lot of hearsay. I'm hearing a lot of things about the guy. I know if I could talk to him, it'd be a little different. But
I was more hesitant at first too. But the videos that came out that clearly showed that same pattern of linguistic manipulation is enough to tell me that if it's a pattern, if it's happened more than once, and the stories that are coming out to at the very least give them the benefit of the doubt here, that I don't think I don't think Ezra Miller has earned that benefit of the doubt anymore.
It's alarming that they say he just turns on a dime.
Yeah.
Like, he puts on a facade that he's a very open, honest, kind person. And he, at first, is like talking to people about philosophy and spirituality. And, you know, he seems very genuine. And then you do one thing to, in his eyes, like encroach on his freedom to do whatever the hell he wants.
And we're not even talking about the grooming stuff. We're not even.
It's the drugs. I spent a lot of time in LA smoking a lot of weed, and I knew a lot of people like that. They'd smoke weed and like do other weird drugs and stuff, and talk about God and spirituality and love, and they'd be so high when they're doing it. And then if they don't get their fix, or if it starts to fade, they're just their temper comes out, because like when you're high, you're not engaging your emotions properly, and it's building up and building up is like steam pressure, and they just keep talking about what they think is good, but not what they feel. And then when the feelings come out, it comes out like this kind of crap.
Or their feelings are widely disconnected from what they're actually talking about because the drugs mask it so well. It's one of the things, like even now, like years sober, I have a hard time, like even when I am like the other day when we hit 30, I was talking to Dallas from over at the Daily Wire, and we were just talking about things going on, the progress they're making in the industry, and like I still hesitate to this day to get like too excited about stuff, because there was a time in my life when that stuff would come out, that excitement would come out when you're still using drugs, but then it doesn't match what happens when you come down. So I'm still hesitant to this day to be overly emotive because of how it used to be when when you would fade. You know, even now it's like you just go to bed and you wake up in a different mood, and that's a very different thing. So drugs play a huge part of that for a lot of people.
Yeah, I've toned down my excitement. And I like excitement isn't necessarily good. Like when a system excites, it just means it starts to move faster and more chaotically.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. It's scary. Like it's scary though, because it's the same concept. Like, have you ever heard the memes or something where it says like, don't make like people who make plans when they're in a good mood, and then when they finally have to go do the plans, they're all bummed because like you were in a more positive headspace. Thank you. You were in a more positive headspace when you made those plans.
That was life in LA. Almost every time you'd go out at night, you'd be like, oh, we meet somebody, and you'd be talking, you'd be like, we have got to hang out, and then you realize the next morning they live 50 minutes away because LA is so huge, and you're like, I'm never gonna see that guy again.
It's a weird thing, man. It's a weird thing.
A lot of broken plans.
There's some more there.
James Orenthal, I can't pronounce that last name, said Graph Ian in the house. Anime Mary, what genre, movies, TV do you consume? The pop culture crisis community can best suggest anime within your interests. Yo, Midwest. You're just Midwest now?
I'm just Midwest, I guess.
Shout out to
what do you prefer to watch?
I never really got into anime. I watched Sailor Moon a little bit, but I don't know if that counts. I tried Rosario X Vampire. I just think a lot of them are like kind of hypersexual, or they have storylines. If they're not, they have storylines that don't really appeal to like a Western audience.
Yeah.
At least not me. I don't know.
That's becoming more popular among Western audiences as these studios make less and less content that people actually want to watch. So
I was big into the Smurfs. I was born in 1979. I thought Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was pretty good. Thundercats. Highly recommend Thundercats. Start from the beginning. The original series. I don't think that's anime though. It's just called cartoons.
Yeah, I'm not an anime guy. I love almost all of the DC animated movies without fail end up being fairly good to at the very least average to above average when they're done really really well. And the animated TV shows like Young Justice, Justice League Unlimited, Young Justice particular, I'm rewatching for like the second time right now. Very good.
Sword Art Online was okay for the first season. Did you guys see that? If you like the metaverse,
I've heard of it, but the idea of it sounds really cool.
The idea is awesome. The execution was not so great, unfortunately. It got really repetitive after like episode 7. It started to become the same kind of thing. I don't want to spoil any of it, but it's basically about people going into the metaverse and getting stuck inside.
Okay,
it's wild.
All right, there's one more there, Mary.
Gare Banger 17 said, how someone reacts when they get arrested is who they really are, especially when drunk. I mean, most people never get arrested, so I don't know if you're ever going to see who anyone really is.
Yeah.
If that's true.
I had an experience where I was pulled over one time for speeding, and I thanked the officer for pulling me over because I actually thought, you know what, I could have killed somebody.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing your job and keeping the world safe. I was in the wrong. I thanked him, and I meant it.
For me, like even the times I've been pulled over, like it's one of those things where like people get mad when you're told to comply, and I'm not a huge fan of authority. Just like I'm not an appeal to authority guy either. But when you get pulled over, common sense tells you put your hands at 10 and 2 and answer clearly and respect what's happening to get yourself out of the situation, whether you did it or not. Obviously, if you want to fight it in court and make it to the court date. Now, I don't think that's a good thing to just be like the I'm not a back the blue guy by any stretch of the imagination, because I think that blankets everything, just like saying ACAB blankets everything. I try to take a more nuanced approach to it. But I've never been arrested, but I've been pulled over.
I've never been arrested, no.
Never been arrested either, thankfully.
I can't imagine you getting arrested. That would be interesting.
I mean, there's no use in fighting it, right?
Exactly. Well, fighting court.
There's no use in threatening federal hate crime.
All I could think of when I heard that story is like just the poor cops. Like, I just want to get home to my wife and kids.
Yeah,
I don't want to deal with
often
this.
It's very humiliating to think like, oh, I was doing something wrong,
yeah.
And that's why I'm being pulled over by the police right now. But people will be like, no, I'm the good guy of every moment in my life. That's not how it works, dude. Sometimes you're the villain. You just got to accept it.
Everyone thinks that they're the good guy all the time.
Well, sometimes, or you can get outside that and realize what you're doing. That's a very valuable trait.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about J.K. Rowling. So it says, Warner Brothers stands by J.K. Rowling after reporter blocked from asking question about her. Do not take this to mean that they are like, we're pro J.K. Rowling's beliefs on transgenderism. This is basically J.K. Rowling has the greatest publishing deal in the history of the world, and she makes them a crap ton of money, so they're going to stand by the person who makes them a crap ton of money. And that's fine. So it says, Warner Brothers has stood by J.K. Rowling after an external PR rep acting on behalf of the studio told Sky News that the company was, quote, not connected to the author. The studio issued the response following a spat between Sky News and the PR representative who blocked the outlet from asking Harry Potter actor Tom Felton about J.K. Rowling during a press event in London last week. Felton was taking part in an event around the expansion of the Warner Brothers Studio Tour London, the making of Harry Potter attraction. The actor who played Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter film franchise unveiled Professor Sprout's Greenhouse, a fan favorite set from the films, which will be a permanent addition to the attraction. So he's on basically promo detail right now. Let's imagine that those movies ended like 10 years ago, and the actors are still like doing I'm sure making beyond the residuals, are making money for these types of appearances. I can't imagine the amount of income. So it says, in an interview, a Sky News reporter asked Felton about Rowling, who has faced backlash for comments about the trans community and who was notably absent from Return to Hogwarts, the HBO Max documentary special marking the 20th anniversary of the Harry Potter franchise. So yeah, they did like a 20th anniversary get-together, like all the stars were in it, retrospectives and all this stuff. And curiously missing was the person who literally made all of this possible, because she's what an activist would call a trans exclusionary radical feminist. I don't know if I would put her in that label, because she does not.
We don't care what she thinks about transgender ideology. We don't care.
And most normal people don't either.
Yeah, only the people in Hollywood who are entrenched in all of this would even think to hold a grudge over it. But like, it's so self-centered that these actors think that they're the ones who like created this franchise.
Yeah, and we're going to get to what
they think they
Emma Watson
own it
said.
or something.
Yeah, It says at this point, it says, you and the other stars of the film are still very much the face of the franchise, if you like. We speak to you and hear from you guys. J.K. Rowling obviously has some sort of backseat now. Is it strange for her not being around a thing like this? At this point, an external PR executive hired for the event, who is not a Warner Brothers employee, cut in and said, next question, please. They're trying to keep her name out of it because they don't want these questions about, like that most likely is a lead-in question that gets her name in the discussion, and then from there they can add the question about, and what do you think about what J.K. Rowling thinks about transgenderism? And that's so it's a way to sneak the question in there with a more innocuous one to start. It says, in a statement shared with Variety, Warner Brothers stood by its long-standing relationship with Rowling. And here's the statement. It says, Warner Brothers has enjoyed a creative, productive, and fulfilling partnership with J.K. Rowling for the past 20 years. She is one of the world's most accomplished storytellers, and we are proud to be the studio to bring her vision, characters, and stories to life now and for decades to come. And for now and decades to come. Sorry about that. On Monday, a statement was issued by a third-party media agency that appeared contrary to this view. The statement was wholly wrong, and Warner Brothers Studio London regrets it happened as part of a media event that day. The Greenhouse expansion opens for Warner Brothers Studio, blah, blah, blah. So the idea here is like that cut-in from that PR rep made it seem like they didn't want her to be mentioned. And that person is not an employee of it's a third party hire who is, I don't know if that was done on purpose as a way to give them deniability for that.
Do you think this is a case of a source close to the situation?
Well, this is a real press release here. The one at the end, this isn't like a source. This is an actual press release from Warner Brothers, the long one that I just read at the end there. But the end here, it's simple. She has the greatest deal in publishing history. She is the reason why YA authors now get almost nothing in comparison to what she got, because every publisher wants to treat every new book and every new author as if that's going to be the next Harry Potter. You are not, if you're in publishing now, if you're a young YA author, you're not getting a deal that includes theme park rights. You're signing that away the moment you take that advance, right? So she's kept on to all of that. Anything that has her name on it, she gets a cut of. That type of deal is unheard of now.
But it's kind of ridiculous that other writers are held to the standard of your work is going to be the next Harry Potter. When
I know, right?
In reality, it's just literally not. You can't replicate that level of fanfare.
I don't know when you talk about the idea of like what is a cultural phenomenon, it was a cultural phenomenon. I don't know if there has been. It's not going to happen again. I don't know if there has been. Is there anything that you would think of has been close to that level of cultural importance as far as media since then? You could say superheroes have become...
As far as young adult novels turning into film franchises, I mean, maybe Hunger Games.
No, not
really
that level.
Even.
Not that level.
Still not that level.
I see what you mean. Like, that would be the closest, something like the closest
It was pretty
thing.
big considering, but still.
You can't construct it. It might happen again, but you really can't construct it. You can't plan on it happening again.
And it won't come from that genre.
I don't think that authors should be, indirectly punished for the deal that she got.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's the studio just hedging their bets. Like, we don't know if it's going to, we don't know if you're going to reach that level of fame. But just in case you do, you're not getting theme park money that we're getting. You're not getting toy money that you're getting. It makes me it makes me miss Bill Watterson. Do you remember Calvin and Hobbes?
Oh, yeah.
Never sold out and never turned Hobbes into an actual doll. Never allowed them to make a Hobbes tiger doll. For out of artistic
Even
integrity
to this day?
Yep. Doesn't allow them. If you see one, it is counterfeit. They don't allow that to be made because he believed that the art was the most important part of that. And that because it makes it corporeal. Like, if you do it, it makes it real. And the idea is that you don't know as an adult, like to the parents, Hobbes is not real. To Calvin, it is real. But if you make it a doll, then it is forever a doll. And he didn't want to do that to the art.
Okay.
That's
I don't know if I agree with that.
I kind of love it. I mean, it reminds me.
It's cool when you compare it to the consumerist hell that we live in with everything else.
And you can still, I guess the idea here is he had a lot of reverence for the art form of comic strips, right? He wanted you to, to take in the art as it was, and not turn it into something like the stickers of like Calvin peeing on a logo. Those are all counterfeit too. You're not allowed. He doesn't allow that to be marketed out. Etsy has a huge black market of like Calvin and Hobbes stuff that's vaguely Calvin and Hobbes. So it is weird.
Now we see like toys aren't an afterthought
No.
They're written into the stories.
Every Disney, like, make no mistake about it, Grogu, Baby Yoda, is designed to be a toy.
And then
Toy
the cat
Story.
in Lightyear.
Toy Story was a movie
And
about
Toy
toys.
Story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about
Yeah.
art meeting life, you know?
But they made that character of Socks, the cat from the new Lightyear movie, and you look at something like that, you're like, there's no way that was not made because some dude in your marketing department's like, and the toys will be fantastic.
And it's not even a cute cat.
No, it's not. So, and so what's interesting about this is you read those comments, you see how they block Tom Felton from talking, and then we have this article's from like about a week ago. It says, Emma Watson will return to Harry Potter if J.K. Rowling isn't involved.
The self-indulgent attitude, it's insane to me. Like, I first got whiff that this was happening because I saw a tweet that said, J.K. Rowling invented Emma Watson.
She literally
she made Emma Watson.
She breathed her into life. As a celebrity. And it's also, the other thing that's funny about this is basically she says, if you go through here, her idea here is basically, I will do it. Do you have it pointed out? I wanted to find the actual comment she made. Watson made a comment at the BAFTAs earlier this year that many took to be directed at J.K. Rowling. Watson was arriving on stage to present an award with fellow actor Rebel Wilson, joked that Hermione Granger, the Hermione Granger actor, calls herself a feminist, but we all know she's a witch. In a comment that is a bit iffy in itself, Watson replied, I'm here for all the witches, which was taken as with internet discord as a tacit disagreement with J.K. Rowling's public beliefs on transgender individuals. Since the end of the original 8 movies, basically the idea here is that she's also worked with Disney, and this is where I take issue with her saying that she won't work with Rowling. She works with Disney, who we all know has concentration camps that have imprisoned members of the Uyghur Muslim population in China, subjected them to forced abortion, and all sorts of ridiculous human rights abuses.
Disney owns
Disney. No, they worked with the government of China and filmed the movie of Mulan like right over by those camps, and the people who ran those camps had to be involved in that process because they have to be aware of who's shooting in locations close to them, and they thank them in the credits to Mulan. So Disney has no problem filming movies with China, and to be fair, making movies for a Chinese audience, which I still want to call out whenever that stuff is. When you release stuff in China, you're tacitly approving of what the CCP is doing over there.
It'd be like releasing stuff in Nazi Germany.
Yes.
Tacitly approving of the
so
Nazis.
She will work with Disney, who has a long history of working with countries with human rights abuses, but will no longer work with the woman who made her famous because she said things she disagrees with on the internet.
It's not that I don't totally agree that there's a tacit approval of everything the CCP does in filming in China. But what I think is she only pays attention to public disapproval.
Yeah.
She doesn't actually care about the ethics of who she works with. She cares about who will support my public image.
Also, to be fair, she might not even know. Like, I would. That's one of those things I can actually buy her to not even know.
Yeah, I don't.
You're talking about Emma?
About Emma Watson.
Yeah, I don't expect her to. What I find annoying about it is that she believes her derivative performance of a character that was written by J.K. Rowling now belongs to her.
Oh, yeah.
That character.
They'll recast it. Like, just like Marvel recast the superheroes, all the Harry Potter characters will be recast at some point. So she's got a little bit of power now. I just hope she doesn't abuse it.
And that's the thing. Like, they don't realize that it does not exist without the author, right? And this proves to you that they do that. I think the actors now view all this stuff as IP and not as a piece of art that was created by an individual, which in itself is a far more beautiful thing to me than what happens when it becomes corporatized and part of a corporate structure. But they don't look at it that way. She just looks at it as an aspect of her career, and I think very ungrateful, especially since I always took what J.K. Rowling said as fairly measured. She got spicy later on as like a form of pushback against the people who were clearly like taking what she said to the most hyperbolic ends of saying like she believed that there's aspects of transgenderism that erase women from society, which if you watched Matt Walsh's documentary, you understand that that's a very real thing that people are asking questions about now, but you're not allowed to ask questions.
Well, I don't really care what Rowling's beliefs are, and honestly I don't relate to her urge to be, have Twitter fingers about it. Because if I had her level of wealth, I feel like it would be smarter to just kind of slink back into the shadows and keep writing, but do it for your own fulfillment and not for merchandising and movies.
And to be fair, you're right. Like, she could all of these people could just keep quiet and like maybe like I'm one of those people. I'm very I'm very measured with what I say on social media just because it's never worth. To me, it's not worth. I don't want to spend 9 hours a day arguing with people who, when somebody purposely misinterprets what I'm saying anyway.
That's why you do shows.
Yeah,
you got to get. This is a way to communicate is with your voice and your face.
Exactly.
Text is passe, man.
It's a horrible way to communicate with people. So on one hand, I say to Rowling, you get what you deserve. You make these comments. You kind of have to make your bed and lie in it as well. But at the same time, it's like you'd think that knowing somebody, however long she's known Rowling, that would have built up enough of a relationship to at least allow her to keep quiet about what Rowling said, so that she doesn't have to pick a side rather than literally just going against them.
Well, even when not being directly asked about it, she has to make
her comment.
She has to allude to it.
She's kind of made her bones as like a feminist icon
for all the witches.
Exactly.
Is that how she said it?
Yeah, they're both annoying. I think and what I've taken from Rowling is that she's completely supported all of this woke stuff until it butted heads with her interests.
Yeah, she very much courted this audience with the way she treated the franchise after the fact.
So I think they're both annoying.
I missed her original statement. She was saying that she was feared that it would erase women from society.
Yeah. Basically, her concept is just, she said, like, look, like whenever they would talk, anytime something comes up where they mention birthing person, where that gets used in like it was like an NPR thing where they mentioned birthing person, and J.K. Rowling sarcastically tweets, "There used to be a word for that." Woman?
Yeah. It doesn't sound like she's saying females in general are being erased, but that the idea of the definition of the word, she's a very literal person. She's a literary genius. She uses liturgy to communicate often, and I think she fears the definitions would be twisted.
Yeah.
And maybe have been twisted.
Yep. So do you want to read the Super Chats?
Yes. Nathan Koss said, in Italy during the 1930s, the brown shirts would sit in on media events and news coverage to shut down discussion about specific topics. Very creepy to see it happening again.
Yep. A little bit different, I suppose, being it's like I don't know what a third party PR person is there for. I mean, that's what was interesting about it is like Warner Brothers made that statement after the fact. But if that person was a third party host hired by Warner Brothers, likely and they interject to stop a question, there's a list of things that they're supposed to prevent people from talking about, right? So that's still a third party person on behalf of Warner Brothers. So it's interesting that they both have the question stopped in the moment and then release a press release afterwards. I could be missing something.
Because they only want to speak on things when they can control it.
Yeah, exactly. Control the narrative.
Soci Hobbit said, I've been pulled over twice. Each time was nerve-wracking, and I was constantly wondering what I did wrong. Both times were about dead brake lights. The police are just doing their jobs.
Amen to that.
Unavailable ID name said, Emma Watson would have made it eventually, but she wouldn't be as big as she is. I saw her in ballet shoes, but Harry Potter skyrocketed her.
I never saw that, so I never saw that, and most of her other stuff since then I found very lackluster. I do think she did a fair enough job as Hermione Granger, but
she was terrible when she was a kid. But most child actors are terrible.
Yeah, that's not their.
The acting was horrendous in those early movies, but I thought the guy Daniel Radcliff was good. He was the best by far of the child
actors. Was it like
actors.
Charmingly bad or just?
She was like awkward. She would say things when you could tell she was saying lines, but wasn't like, I didn't believe that was a real person doing a real thing. The redhead guy, just
Rupert Grint, yeah,
miserably awkward in the early days. They became better. Emma especially became a better actor as the years went on. Daniel became a way better actor as the years went on.
He's kind of become like a Josh Hartnett type of like he very clearly likes to do these smaller, like the indie or weirder films. Like he doesn't like, because he doesn't really fit the mold of an action star. But he's also like, I don't think he likes doing the big budget stuff as much. Guns Akimbo is like the last things.
He took it really seriously, man. I don't know if he got massive amounts of training, but he took that career super seriously.
And I don't know if he does. He might do stage now too. I'm not 110% sure about that. So there's a couple more there.
Bad App said Mary's a honeypot. She's on WeChat.
That is.
We don't talk about that.
She is very clearly a CCP spy. After all, PCC backwards is just CCP. So yeah. So
no coincidence.
And POC backwards is cop.
No! Oh my gosh! Mind blown.
Waffle Sensei, the beloved and empirical, said there's an argument that getting movies out in China that get through the censorship but still produce American values is a worthwhile endeavor. Disagree, because you're still trying to force American values on a country that is not favorable to them and also doesn't care. Like, they don't care about our messaging.
Well, the CCP doesn't, that's for sure. But the people, from what I hear, are basically enslaved by their government. They're occupied by the CCP. The real government of China is the Republic of China, which is based in Taiwan. That's they were pushed out by the communists in the 60s when Mao created his Cultural Revolution, and the people just put a clamp down on the Chinese people. So getting through to the people is a different story. Getting through the government, getting through the people are two different stories.
But the government controls what gets through.
Again, the government's the Republic of China.
American values shining through in our films is like a gay kiss in Lightyear, like,
which they don't show.
What are you even doing? What do we stand for then? Is that what you consider to be American values?
Yep,
I would have to have any depth other than self-indulgence.
I'd have to hear a good example of like a movie. I guess like if Top Gun Maverick made it out there, that might be a fair example of like a recent movie that has a little bit more of a soaring American message that about being good at it's I don't know how you'd explain it in the movie, but like working hard, at a career for as long as he did and training the next generation of these amazing pilots and stuff like that. There's good messages in that movie, but I don't know if that's necessarily, I don't even think it got released. It didn't get released in China anyways. So.
Seeing the humanity in your enemy is a good American value. Like free speech, letting people you don't agree with communicate. And
I mean, I'm not sure if Top Gun Maverick really.
I'm trying to think of but I don't know of any American movies that come out lately that really hold that like to what we would consider classic American values.
Yeah, what's considered American values now is it's like Baymax showing a man shopping for tampons.
And we will get into that in Podlog.
We'll talk about that later, but
and there's one more for there.
Joseph said, "Young Mary, you're a bright spot for your generation. Good to see." Well, thank you.
Perfect. All right, let us move on from Emma Watson and let's talk about Howard Stern. If you're imagining that it's not 2022 and it's actually 1996, I imagine you should just hold on. I know it feels weird, but it's Howard Stern. It's the year 2022 and it's Marvel. It sounds weird, but it's a real thing. So it says Howard Stern leaks Marvel role on Hot Mic. I'm effing miserable, and that's the part I want to talk about here. He talks about how he's going to be in Doctor Doom. I know that's what I said. But it's not going to be. I believe it's going to be a podcast. They do like an audio podcast reading thing, which I know DC is kind of doing the same thing. Winston Duke is playing Batman in like a Batman podcast. So it says a big time oops for Howard Stern or one of his staffers has Marvel fans buzzing because he accidentally let it slip. He's shooting a movie. He doesn't sound too hyped about it. I don't, from the other things that I've read, it's not a movie, it's a podcast, but we'll see. It says Howard spilled the tea during a break on his Sirius XM show, apparently not realizing his microphone was still hot. He chatted with producer, I don't know how to pronounce that name, Gary Delabate.
Yeah, I think so.
About possible guests for the show, and he noted that they won't be able to talk much in the summer. Co-host Robin Quivers asked if that meant he was working this summer, and Howard replied, "Well, I'm going to do Doctor Doom." He admits he's less than thrilled about it, saying, "But believe me, I'm effing miserable about it."
Whoa!
What I want to talk about here is that these celebrities, the ones who are taking these roles now, who seem just giddy at the idea of changing a character, and remember, I am a proponent. Thank you. Thank you. I am a proponent of race swapping when they don't make a big deal about it and they let it be just who the character is and they don't talk about it. That's fine. That doesn't bother me. Gender swapping is a little bit different. But in general, I am more I'm more lenient on that than a lot of other people are. But this is just proof that they do not care about the things that you're passionate about. They do not care about the things that you love. It's people like this. Thank you. That are using it as a means of keeping themselves relevant and building their own public persona, and I hate that. Because they play on your nostalgia, they play on the things that you love, and they act as if they're proponents of it, and they're not. Howard Stern doesn't give a crap about Marvel, and I guarantee you he doesn't know who the hell Doctor Doom is.
Okay, wait. What if he was saying he's miserable about not being able to talk with Robin Quivers that summer? What if let's
cannot
have
honestly
the nicest
no.
possible
We are not. No,
interpretation.
I'm not giving
No,
them
I
the
never do
benefit of the
that,
doubt
sorry.
today. Like no.
He's been miserable since he was 17.
Yeah.
Probably even before that. He made a career off of being miserable and making fun of other people and talking crap about people. He's always, I mean,
And now
I don't
he
want
wants to
be too
pretend
hard
that
on Hal
he's
because
such a good guy. Like, he really annoys me. He's pretending to be the bigger person after he has, like, made the most cheap shots and, like, just, I mean, he's been even, like, creeped on people before. It's just, he's just a gross person.
And when I say, like, they say here, so here's the statement from Marvel. It says, Marvel podcasts on Sirius include Marvel's Wastelander, Marvel Method, Marvel Declassified, and was officially announced back in November of 2020. Beginning today, Sirius XM is the new destination for exclusive new original podcasts from Marvel Entertainment. In addition to Sirius XM's recently announced slate of original podcast series and highly curated selection of popular shows, Sirius XM subscribers will select streaming plans will be able to tune in to exclusive new podcasts like the Marvel Method. So basically, they're doing Marvel podcasts that will do comic like storylines like DC is doing. So he's going to play that character here, and it says there's a bunch of tweets here. It says, "Holy crap!" I'm not. So
it's a fictional podcast.
Yeah, it'll be a real podcast about comic storylines.
So
imagine like an audio podcast, like how they used to have radio shows.
So it's not an audio book.
No, it would be a podcast, not like something you buy.
But they're only talking about them. They're not like acting.
No, he's going to act in them. He's going to act in it.
Wait, who is the audience for this? Would you ever?
Nobody freaking knows.
To this?
No,
I don't understand.
I don't know who's. And I love Batman, and I don't know anyone who's watching the DC, who's listening to the DC Batman audio podcast.
You close your eyes and really immerse yourself in it.
I love audiobooks, so I guess there could be a market for that. But a very important part of comics is the visual aspect of it.
I thought the whole point of that was the visual aspect of it.
So, and what I mean by that, they want to do this stuff to build their profile is we have this article which says Howard Stern teases presidential run, announces Bradley Cooper as pick for vice president. Well, you know what? Bradley Cooper is a fantastic actor, but he should get back to working. He should reintroduce that amazing one season of the show Limitless that he made based on his movie and bring that show back and not think about running for president. That's what Bradley Cooper should be doing. So it says, perhaps the next presidential election will involve a multitude of celebrities. Should Howard Stern follow through with launching a campaign to become president of the United States, an outspoken critic of former President Donald Trump? Wow, that's stunning and brave. Stern has spoken on a satellite radio podcast about concerns that Trump might be running for office again in 2024. Stern seems to feel that his celebrity status could compete with that of Trump's and is confident that he would smoke the former Celebrity Apprentice host in a presidential election on his show. Well, we get it now. He's insane.
Yeah, if he did run, he'd start doing it. He'd be like, I can't take this anymore. I can't take this anymore, and he'd quit.
If you remember when Trump was originally running, he wasn't getting much traction until the press started reporting on him, like on the crazy stuff he started tweeting. The initial part of his presidential run was fairly benign. It wasn't until he started saying kind of really controversial stuff that it picked up traction.
But he was always kind of a firebrand on Twitter. I don't think that was new in 2015.
I wonder if maybe he was just trying to clean it up for a bit before he started to run and then realized it wasn't going to work and he had to be who he was. But it says, earlier in the morning I was texting back and forth with someone I was interested in potentially being my vice president when I run. That sounds like an admission of running. You said when I run. Aren't there rules as far as when they can announce and stuff like that?
I don't know. Howard Stern's a liar, so I don't know.
This person texted me and said, I want to congratulate you and you have my vote. Very lovely conversation. And I said, how would you feel about being my vice president? That should immediately give you pause about giving them your vote if then they just kind of casually drop in the idea of you being their vice president.
Hey, Bradley Cooper's a genius, so I understand his cult love for the dude, but
he was a genius in Limitless, the movie, which is a fantastic
movie. He speaks
movie.
Multiple languages, or at least he speaks French, I think, too. He's very intelligent.
So this is what I mean is Marvel is no longer about comics. It's no longer about making great movies. It's about being a place for Kevin Feige to push their lame MCU in Phase 4, and for celebrities who want to either bolster their image because they haven't reached that level of fame yet, or if you're someone like Howard Stern, you desperately want to stay relevant. You think he wanted to do a Doctor Doom
they're
podcast?
paying him $20 million or something, probably.
It's so embarrassing the lengths that some of these washed up celebrities go to for attention.
Yeah.
And I'm also floored in the first place that there's any audience for a Marvel podcast that's fictionalized, but not an audiobook, but based on comics, but not visual. Like, I really don't understand the point. Also, maybe he just has like such a dry sense of humor that like this whole When I Run thing is he's just trying to like get people to tweet about him.
Now here it says Howard says he's already hit up MCU vet Robert Downey Jr. for acting tips. He's even asked Gary to put him in touch with Iron Man director Jon Favreau for more help. Maybe I'm wrong and it was not a serious accident. Maybe it is like a video. It does seem weird to me to put Dr. Doom into like an audio podcast when Dr. Doom is a pretty big character. You could do that. But nobody wants to see Howard Stern act. I don't know what I want less. Do I want to see Howard Stern act, or do I want to see Howard Stern run for president?
Did you see Private Parts?
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was good, personally. I thought it was great, actually. But I saw it in the 90s when it came out.
Yeah, like I don't know how that would play. Like, it's also funny watching him become kind of a weirdly Puritan person, given that was like the opposite of his persona.
I mean, get down with Trump. Trump's a potty mouth, dude. I get that you don't like his politics. I don't know what he doesn't like about him. I mean, I got issues with Trump. Yeah. I think everybody's got issues with everybody.
Issues with someone being seen as more edgy than him.
That's a problem. He's like, he's not here on Sirius XM with me. I'm the edgy one in this world.
He thinks he invented it or something.
He's a hypochondriac. Well, they're both hypochondriacs, I think. But Howard's a notorious hypochondriac. Thinks he's sick or afraid of getting sick.
What?
He was big on like the vaccines and not going outside and washing his hands and like talking to other people is like, you're dirty, you're dirty.
It's interesting how that differently affected people.
He's a neurotic guy, though. I think that's part of it. Is it less about any specific thing, more about just his own neuroses.
Also, is this a lot of editorializing? Because they said while this actor is a white man, they were talking about Bradley Cooper. Stern feels that he is so beloved by the American people that he'll still help garner a lot of votes. He, as in Stern, believes that about himself or about Bradley Cooper?
Where is that? I don't have that paragraph.
In the Movie Web article.
In how far down?
It's below the quote that ends in Supreme Court justices.
Even after sleeping on the issue, Stern has gotten more serious about his potential presidential campaign. He even enlisted A-list actor to serve as his running mate. While the actor is a white man, Stern feels that he is so beloved that these people are insane.
Wait, is that like I still feel like I'm being like punked. Like, is that a joke?
I have no idea.
Did they talk about his race?
Whoever wrote this article,
poking fun at like the race issue by saying that, or is he actually serious?
Or is that the Movie Web article editorializing? Stern feels that he is so beloved with the American people that he'll still help garner a lot of votes, as if they wouldn't vote if he was not. Is he saying that they would vote only if he wasn't a white man? These people are insane. They're mentally ill, and they are racists. Weirdly racists.
So absurd that I'm not. I don't even know what to say.
I in a way, I do feel like we're being punked.
Yeah.
In a way, but they also just suck. So maybe they just suck.
Well, I've got my eye on Howard Stern for 2024. I'm looking forward to his inevitable campaign.
We're in like the back rooms of reality right now. They're towing the line between fake and reality.
Then we're gonna have to be careful about covering it. Me and you are gonna have to be careful about covering it because is it politics? Is it like?
And this
I know pop culture and politics are blending.
Yeah, like when we started the show, that was like the hardest thing for me to figure out was like where does one end and the other one begin? Because like for the last 2 weeks, all we've had is just or week and a half is just Roe v. Wade, celebrities, Roe v. Wade.
Like pop culture.
We addressed it to the degree that we felt was appropriate, but the politics is encroaching so far on pop culture. I don't think the other way around.
It bums me out
that it's hard to avoid.
It is pop culture, but it's like the legalization aspect of pop culture.
Yep.
Like
thank you.
When something becomes popular, we codify it into law. You know.
Yeah, and it, like all these movies, like oh, by the way, there's one more womp built into this story, which is Thor: Love and Thunder is a disaster and is being compared to Batman and Robin. Mary is far too young to understand what that means.
Is that the Chris that old Batman movie with Chris, what's his name?
O'Donnell.
Yeah, Chris O'Donnell.
Yep, the one with Alicia Silverstone.
I remember that being the fall of Batman. That was when it.
Alicia Silverstone was in that?
Yes, she was.
What?
Yep. So it says Thor: Love and Thunder might be the next big failure to come from Kevin Feige's Phase 4, as the flick is being compared to Batman and Robin, which, by the way, I actually liked Batman Forever with Val Kilmer. I think that's an underrated Batman movie.
I saw that.
It's
was that Mr. Freeze?
No, that's Batman and Robin.
That was really bad.
Batman Forever is Jim Carrey as the Riddler and Tommy Lee Jones
that was
as Two-Face.
Tommy, though, went over the top in that movie. He was so fake. Like, he played like a goofy caricature of an actor. Like, it didn't even seem real what he was doing. I remember Jim Carrey said that he came up to him, that Tommy Lee Jones in a restaurant was like, "I do not tolerate your buffoonery." And Jim was like, "What?
What are you talking about?"
Jim was the star of the movie. Tommy didn't like that.
Yeah, and they hated each other. And it's got one of my favorite lines from any movie ever. It's when it's at the very beginning when the security guard goes, "It's boiling acid," which everybody, if you ever watch that movie, you have to watch that scene. It's at the very beginning. So it says, so Christian Toto, who runs a blog that is described as the right take on entertainment. He also wrote a book called Virtue Signaling. It's about Hollywood and virtue signaling, if I remember correctly. He's been on IRL, Christian Toto has. So it says he works for the Daily Wire. Tweeted his reaction to Thor: Love and Thunder, offering that the film is a tonal disaster and more. Saw Thor: Love and Thunder full review next week. Can share that it's way more Batman and Robin than any superhero movie should be. A tonal disaster. There's a lot to say about Taika Waititi and his take on Thor being, in my opinion. I wasn't a huge fan of Thor Ragnarok. I know that's a very popular one that people love because it kind of gave Thor more personality, and I appreciate that. But as far as Taika Waititi as a director, he's kind of hit and miss for me.
Taika Waititi, what else has he done?
I forget what the name of the other big one.
Wait, Thor Ragnarok, what year was that?
2018.
Oh, okay. Taika Waititi did that Hitler movie.
The Hitler movie, yeah.
Do you mean the series Ragnarok?
No, Thor Ragnarok was a movie.
Oh, okay. I just remember a series that was like...
No,
well, it wasn't about Thor, but it was like kind of... Here's this ordinary high school kid who happens to be Thor.
No, that's not this. This is basically it's a lot like the trailer you saw. This one, way bright colors, super upbeat. Whereas, to be fair, Thor and Thor: The Dark World literally will put you to sleep because they're so boring. But in the other celebrity I wanted to mention when talking about, I kind of didn't weave this in as well as I could have. I mentioned Howard Stern. There's a lot to say about Leslie Grace and how she's kind of treating the character of Batgirl, which she's got a Batgirl movie coming out where she's talking about the identity of the character and what it means for us. They're talking about anything but the movie or the actual character. Is Natalie Portman coming back as Jane Foster, when clearly she probably does not want to be back as Jane Foster, but because Marvel is so popular, they come back and it's just a recipe for insincerity. So we will see where it goes. And also, do you even care about gay Spider-Man? I don't care about
gay Spider-Man.
They're doing
I just want to know why the hand on the hip.
Yeah, they're doing a mini series, Edge of the Spider-Verse #5, which created a character called Web Weaver. And it's very, very, to be fair, he points out, he says, this isn't meant to be for all gay people. It's literally supposed to be a very specific subsect. So I can appreciate that the author's not saying like...
What subsect?
They're saying that these are for ones that might be more feminine or
yes.
like that way.
When I looked at the picture, I don't know if you're showing it.
Yes,
I am. It's an effeminate-looking Spider-Man. It doesn't mean that the Spider-Man is gay or straight. It's just an effeminate-looking Spider-Man.
But
maybe more scary.
But the point is like, I don't care. Like, I just don't know why you can't just make a different character this way.
Sure.
It makes no sense to me. I know why they're doing it because I'm not stupid. I know they're doing it because it's cultural enforcement and they're pushing it on to the public. That's fine if you want to create new characters.
Make a guy called Lightning that can skate on lightning. That'd be cool. Just do random stuff, guys. Come on, you own Marvel. Do something with it.
There's a lot of they ruined Iceman. There's so many characters that they could do that already exist that they just don't because they don't have the creative capacity or the patience to wait for new characters to grow bigger. I don't care about this, but I did want to at least mention it. It is relevant, but nobody cares if your character is gay. They care that you take beloved characters that were already a certain way that people have grown attached through years of time spent in the cultural consciousness, and then change them for modern political ends. Nobody likes that.
I've been thinking about law, like entertainment law, because I've been looking at contracts and just kind of perusing contracts. And some of them will say we own, like, so for instance, when the guy that plays Thor did Thor, Marvel or Disney had him sign a contract, probably said, we own the rights to your likeness for this movie forevermore, for infinity and forever in the future, through all universes. And you're like, through all universes, what are they even talking about? And then I realized, like, dude, they're talking about virtual reality and the metaverse and deep fakes, because they own that guy. What's the name of the actor?
Chris Hemsworth.
They own his likeness forever, and they can make a virtual reality deep fake of him saying whatever they want him to say.
They just re-signed a contract for like Stan Lee's estate, where they get to do that with Stan Lee, like at the theme parks and stuff like that.
And they will have him say things he doesn't agree with in the future after he's dead.
Freaking terrifying.
And so these entertainment laws need to be rewritten. These contracts need to be heavily scrutinized and rewritten, because that can't stand.
Let's do some super chats.
Yeah, on that disturbing note, Waffle Sensei, the beloved and empirical, said, "Bold of you to disagree with someone with empirical in their name. I would use Top Gun as a good example of a good movie to get into China."
I love that movie.
They got into China?
No, it did not.
Yeah,
did not.
I don't think they did.
They were never going to let.
Waffle Sensei, the empirical.
Who were the villains in Top Gun? I didn't see it.
Generic,
they went out of their way to make them extremely nondescript.
To the point where they just called them the enemy, and when they show the enemy fighter pilots, they use black face masks so you can't even see what they look like.
They did that in the first one. But they knew they were Russian MiGs.
They said, they mentioned
still the black
Russia.
face masks.
But they don't mention Russia. They just go, the enemy's target is here. They literally go out of their way.
Wow.
One of the things on IMDb pointed out that it had to be, what was that country? It wasn't Russia, but it was
Iran.
Iran, because they had F-14s, and that was the only other country that had F-14s besides us.
I guess in a way it is political propaganda to choose what country you want to be your enemy in a movie.
I mean, the thing is, though, it's just like, I would rather they just picked.
Just make aliens.
Even though they made the enemy nondescript, people still assumed it was Russia and made articles about, like, it's so great that they made Russia the enemy.
Yeah.
No one listens or cares anyway.
Because there was snow on the ground, and snow means Russia.
Snow equals Russia.
The first one was interesting because they were Russians, but it was during the Cold War, it was after the Cold War, so no one really thought it was about a war. It was just about like a training exercise gone wrong, kind of like miscommunication between the countries. It was kind of cool.
Yep, I love the first Top Gun.
Oh, so freaking good, man. Anthony Edwards. So you had that superstar as the second character, which made the movie great. I don't know if this new one. All I see is Tom Cruise. I haven't seen like another actor. They got a guy that looks like Anthony Edwards when he was young.
Miles Teller, and
he has the mustache like Anthony Edwards. Like
they have two of them. Two of the guys in that movie look like could have easily played his character.
Goose.
In there. And they like there was a great meme. It says like where it shows like Goose and like the top of the thing where he hits his head. And it's like that's supposed to be like his mortal enemy, and
that's funny. And Meg Ryan, they had Meg Ryan. I mean, she was spectacular.
They didn't bring her back, and they didn't bring back Karen Gillis either. But they had Jennifer Connelly in the new one, and it's great. Jennifer Connelly plays the admiral's daughter that gets mentioned at the very beginning of the first Top Gun. Oh, yep. Yeah. So some more.
Waffle Sensei also said, "I'm talking about the Chinese people, not the CCP."
Yes.
Yeah, I was just saying that when you say American values, just because we can't agree on what those are anymore, we can't agree on like what movies are going to propagate them in another country.
Yeah.
Or should. I don't know if we should. Unavailable ID name said, the erasure of redheads in Hollywood needs to stop.
The ginger side is absolutely a real thing. If you ever want to go up and look up ginger side on Google and look at the picture of all the actors that have replaced redheads in Hollywood, it's really funny. There's a show called The Mentalist, which had a redhead character in literally every episode because the name of the long-term serial killer that they're chasing in it is called Red John, and then there's a main character that's red, and there's a redhead in every episode. That was like the last time that Hollywood actually cared about redheads. Really. So they just replaced in The Little Mermaid. They've got Halle Bailey playing Ariel. So
and there are tons of other examples of ginger characters being changed.
Jimmy from DC. I almost say Jimmy Palmer. Jimmy Palmer's a different person. But yeah, it's all sorts of examples of the redheads are just gone from Hollywood.
Sad.
Yeah.
Mr. Y said, keep celebrities out of politics. Let normal people run for office. It's how our nation was originally supposed to be operated by the common man.
That's interesting because like Trump is both because he was a successful businessman, and you would have wanted a businessman back. That was not uncommon for people, with strong businesses to go and serve in politics. But he just happened to build a business that was built around media empire, so it's a little bit different.
Built around him,
yes,
like his name.
He is like one of my favorite.
Unique situation.
One of my favorite things, to explain to people, is if you just accept that he's egotistical, it gets a lot easier to put up with him if you just accept that that's who he is. And when Roe v. Wade got overturned, he made it all about him. It was hilarious. It was my favorite part. Because I just laughed because I'm like, even no matter what cataclysmic thing happens, it becomes about him, and I can almost appreciate it. He's like, this is a great day for the lives of the unborn. ... And it's only because of me and the Supreme Court justices that I nominated. That's fine. That's if you accept him for who he is, it's fine.
Yeah. Mr. Y said, join the Libertarian Party.
Mary will never.
I'm never going to do that. Sorry. Badaff said, would you rather watch Kenobi again, listen to Marvel's podcast, or get choked by Ezra Miller?
Choked by Ezra Miller. I still think that Ezra Miller is probably not that strong. So depending on if I can get away quick enough.
I don't know. I think he's a pretty big guy, right?
Do you know how long it took me to get through every episode of Kenobi? I'd have to pause it.
You probably had to work out a lot for the Flash role.
And how long would the choking happen? Like
that
less
video,
than 20 seconds? Less than 10 seconds?
The video didn't show the whole thing. He was choking her for longer than
I'd actually rather be, as long as he's not going to break my trachea,
Yeah.
choked for 10 seconds than watch
I think
10 hours of a
choked
crappy
by
show.
Ezra Miller is a great story, so let's go with that.
What was the third option?
Getting choked by Ezra Miller.
No,
the second option was listening to Marvel's podcast.
No, I don't want to hear anything from the Marvel or any of the worst is Marvel has Slice of Life podcast too, where they talk about lifestyle stuff. It's
what does that have to do with
Sana
Marvel?
Amina, because they want to be a lifestyle company. They don't want to just be an entertainment brand.
Disney wants to
what
be
does
a
that
government.
Mean?
Yeah, it means nothing. They're awful. It's Sana Amanat. Sana Amanat.
I'm gonna start calling Marvel Disney because they're just basically a skin suit for Disney right now.
It's what it is. Pixar too.
Pixar's Disney.
Jeez.
All right, next one.
1,000-foot deep end said Howard Stern acting over Howard Stern running for president. I can avoid his acting a lot more easily than a presidential run.
How about he acts in a role where he runs for president?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Just maybe
soften him up.
What if that's what he was doing?
That's what all people that are going to run for president should be doing right now.
Yep. Everyone's if Martin Sheen could run for president based just off his performance in The West Wing.
Yeah. Did you see he wished that he'd always had his old name? Did you guys talk about that?
We didn't talk.
Estevez, I think.
Yeah, he is I'm guessing it's it was supposed to be a veiled shot at America for being vaguely racist.
It's after the fact because he is who he is.
Exactly.
Who knows that if he hadn't changed his name, if he ever would have got the roles.
But it doesn't matter because Emilio Estevez made it to plenty big heights as well while keeping his name.
Yeah, but his dad was already famous.
That's okay. So then nepotism plays a role in that.
Mm-hmm.
So all right, next.
Nathan Koss said they switched Stern on again not too long ago.
Oh, good.
Maybe that's why the whole story about Elvis being punched in a bar by Ezra Miller.
They're like, quick, we need to change that.
Elvis Miller. So he should change his name to Elvis Miller.
Unavailable ID name said, have we as crisis actors talked about the Miles Morales as Thor What If comic? Add another movie to Mary's moviecation.
We
talked
did talk
about it. It was horrible cringe.
It was horrible cringe. I don't think we looked at it. It was extreme. It was vaguely racist in this weird linguistic way.
It was more cringy than anyone was saying. It was dehumanizing.
Yeah, everyone else was saying that it was
unfunny.
Basically, they did a thing where do you know what If is from Marvel?
Yeah, I loved them.
Okay, so they do a What If with Miles Morales. Is what if Miles Morales was Thor instead of Spider-Man? And they do it where Thor's Mjolnir has graffiti on it.
Oh my God.
And he says hammer time.
And he says by
That's
the power
an
of
MC Hammer joke from the 80s?
Yes, but because it says by the power of fade.
I like MC Hammer, and it's not because my skin color.
No.
He was a good artist.
Yes. So yeah, it was extremely cringe, and it was really funny. It was all of the internet, both SJWs and regular people came together to tell them how horrible this comic was, and it was so bad that the guy who wrote it donated his salary to a charity. because they never, which he shouldn't have done. The guy should have been like, even if it's awful, the dude should just tell those people to F off. But like he donated his salary because the dude was also an SJW and he got guilted into giving his money away because they're
the
babies.
whole thing is just stupid.
Very cringy.
Whoa.
Devin Stevens said, "Hey there, Ian. Glad to see you on here.
What's
I hope
up?
you remember me from the 5 a.m. hot stream a while back. I tried to reach out to you recently."
Yeah, we did that on Twitch. Sometimes I actually played HOTS last night. It's Heroes of the Storm, a Blizzard game. I don't know if you guys are familiar with. Obviously, you know Blizzard, the entertainment company, the video game company.
Here's that picture of Thor right there. You can see it on the screen. I thought that art was actually pretty good.
He looks like Spider-Man.
Yeah, but that was the least offensive.
Red,
of
white, and
all
blue. They
the-
put him in red, white,
Yeah,
and
the
blue.
cover of it looked cool,
The
but the
cover of
rest
it
of it
was-
I didn't.
Cover looked
Yep.
awesome. So, yeah, they need more arcing lightning, like arc lightning. I don't know. Thor doesn't really shoot lightning out of his hands, does he?
No.
Right, can he command lightning?
I don't know if yes, through the hammer.
Through
With
the
the
hammer.
hammer, not himself.
Yeah, not his hands.
I don't know. I was never, like I said, I'm not a Marvel guy. But
It's
yeah,
all about
that was,
the hammer.
that was the only cool one of the whole thing. The rest of it was all super cringe and really bad. So that one got a lot of blowback. So next one.
Bad App said George Clooney had hard bat nips for Mr. Freeze.
Maybe that's why he had bat nips, because Mr. Freeze was making everything cold.
There it is.
I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
I almost forgot about bat nips.
Yeah.
From the last
They were just
episode
sticking
we
out of his shirt or
mentioned them.
something.
We had a thing where like that guy.
That
who-
was a very intentional costume decision.
That guy has done like nothing but superheroes since then too. So I love the idea that his career flourished even after that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking at if you type up George Clooney bat nips. That's what it's all about.
Dizwiz said it doesn't matter whether new Thor's bad or not because we have to watch 5 seconds after credit scenes,
For a scene that nobody cares
which
about.
means nothing, and they get hyped for no reason.
Yeah, it made sense when they were doing the Infinity Saga, because it was for a 5-second clip of Thanos being like, getting ready for whatever his invasion was. So the post-credit scenes at least kind of made sense.
What were they, like outtakes?
No,
that would
no,
have been great if they'd done like Thanos outtakes where he like starts laughing and it's like
It was to
That'd
keep
be
him.
funny.
It was to keep him in the forefront of people's minds that he was where they were going through to Phase 3. I suggested what they should have done with DC, instead of introducing Batman. What they should have done is introduce Superman, the Flash, and Wonder Woman, building up to what became Batman versus Superman, but use Batman as Thanos and have him prepping for his battle with Superman in all the post-credits.
I'm missing the
scenes.
context. So what was the context of this one? After the end credits, what was this? I have no idea.
This
what
guy
you're
was
talking
just
about.
making fun of the fact that we have to go see another Marvel movie for another
All of
post-credit
them,
scene
yeah.
that won't matter.
So there's post-credit. I don't watch these movies, so I don't know.
Yeah,
There's
all the
post-credits.
Marvel movies
have crappy post-credit scenes.
like post-credit scenes, multiple sometimes post-credit scenes that people wait to see in the theater for like 10 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And it has no significance to the plot of the following movie.
Feels
if
like
they
they-
just watch it because Reddit upvotes. Haha.
Maybe they did this before. Like, we made a joke the other day about I think Joe Rogan likes to make people like have to wait to go to the bathroom when he does his podcast.
Yeah.
Because his podcasts are so long. Like, a lot of people talk about how it's like very hard to, like, you get to the end and all they want to do is go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you just got to say something.
I like the idea that Marvel just does the post-credit scenes because they know the movies are super long, and all these people have to go to the bathroom, and they're just like, Marvel's like, not yet. We got to have 2
Yeah,
post-credit
they got to start
scenes.
the post-credit scene with like a brook, like a water running, and then like real
Put water in
like
all
the noise of the dripping.
in
yeah.
all the credits. They should do that.
Unavailable ID name said, I thought this was a new Spider-Man. His name is Web Weaver, right?
Yes.
He's a femme-male fashion designer.
Like,
Really?
It sounds insulting just when you say it like that. To, like, imagine being just a gay person who just wants to live their life, and then you have stuff like this made that turns you into like a stereotype. And it's just like, I can't believe that they do this.
Web
stuff.
Weaver would have been a cool villain
I know.
that uses Spider-Man's webs against him.
That'd be a cool idea. Maybe they could do that.
Bad App said Disney should change the name of Star Wars to Social Justice Wars.
That would be good. They could then we know, at least we know what we're getting.
Another person whose name I'm not gonna read said Pixar Lightyear's
Character design.
character design of Buzz was so punchable, obnoxious looking. They have no self-awareness.
My favorite was there's a meme of that Buzz Lightyear without his costume. It says, this Buzz Lightyear looks like he turned the body camera off, because he looks like a cop. Like,
Oh wow.
he's super dark. He's super dark. He's got like a fade haircut. It says this Buzz Lightyear looks like he turns the body camera.
I
off.
saw Tim Allen came out against the movie and said it wasn't. We didn't really get
We're
to the
gonna
story.
talk about that.
This is coming up soon.
With that being said, let's just get right into
Well,
Podluck.
we have one more. I think we have a couple more
this is
super
good.
chats,
Okay.
though.
All right, go for it. One more.
Oh, one more?
From Red.
Oh, Bad
from
App said, are we watching Goofy popping off?
We should watch a Goofy movie.
I mean, we literally are watching Goofy popping off, though, on the screen right now.
Oh.
In case you missed that, we're watching Goofy.
Watch. I did not need to see that.
Get down with the goof.
Oh, gosh. Everyone should go watch a Goofy movie right now if you have not yet seen
Really?
a Goofy
Is it
movie.
good?
Oh, yeah. The Goofy movie is fantastic.
Good for you.
All right. So let's go ahead and let's just talk Tim Allen real quick. Basically, he's like, yeah, why did they make this movie? We're kind of running long. So do you want to give a breakdown of what he said, Mary?
He said it has no relationship to Buzz, which is true. And we were talking about how absurd it was that now there is a Toy Story universe, and they're extending it to like the real characters, but people were saying like they're never gonna make a movie like this for Woody because he was racist.
Yes.
But yeah, it's Buzz the man, not the toy. He's the man that the toy was based off of, it makes it no longer really a kids movie. And then at that point, why don't you just make a movie about another like astronaut for children instead of using the same property? Because they have to they
all proselytize themselves at the altar of IP.
And
it
then
has to be about IP.
They're going to introduce Buzz's the actor who plays Buzz's mom, and then they'll make a movie about the toy's character's mom.
Yeah,
that
it's
had
like,
a baby.
At that point, who cares? Just write a new story.
Yes. That's what I was getting at. Thank you.
So he said it's a wonderful story. It just doesn't seem to have any connection to the toy. It has no relationship to Buzz. We talked about this many years ago, but the brass that did the first four movies is not this. It's a whole new team that really had nothing to do with the first movies. I've stayed out of this. So yeah, I mean, there's just no originality or creativity involved, and they changed the character, because it's not the same person as the toy.
And as we know, he
doesn't have the personality that people fell in love with,
which is Tim Allen.
Yeah,
and as we know, that was politically motivated because I believe that they did it because they don't like Tim Allen and they wanted to get it. I believe they chose Chris Evans because he is the opposite of Tim Allen.
Because he's willing to do anything
now he's
for
the face
Disney
of
right now.
He's
on contract. I wonder if they had him contract to do another movie.
Chris Evans is also very progressive. Tim Allen is classically a Hollywood conservative. Had Last Man Standing canceled by ABC before they got picked back up by Fox. He's that Tim Allen was arrested for
I
a
did
bunch
know
of
that
coke in the 70s.
It was like was it a pound?
There's
a
a lot of coke.
He was trying to fly with it.
the mugshot is incredible. If you have a computer, or a phone, go look up Tim Allen's mugshot. It's incredible. So then before we'll just do Baymax really quick.
Yeah,
and we'll just go on that. Has anybody seen Big Hero 6? So it says
I saw Big Hero 6.
So
no, I haven't.
Okay, so
I was just looking at Tim Allen's mugshot. It's high quality.
Conservatives expressed outrage online after leaked video of an episode of Baymax, the new kids show streaming on Disney Plus, featuring a transgender man who buys tampons at a supermarket. Because of course. So it says, I've obtained leaked video of Baymax. This is from Christopher Rufo. Thank you. Upcoming Baymax show Baymax, which promotes transgender flag and the idea that men can have periods to children as young as 2 years old. It didn't need to have this in the show at all. Do you want to explain the actual scene? Do they talk about it in here?
Yeah. So Baymax, he's a nurse robot, but then he's kind of sentient in the Big Hero 6 movie.
Healthcare companion.
Yeah, healthcare companion. He's in the aisle of a supermarket in the fictional town of San Francisco, browsing women's hygiene products.
Trying to help a 12-year-old girl named Sophia, who in an earlier episode...
Which in its first... that's still weird, even if you don't include the transgender man part.
Helps a 12-year-old girl named Sophia, who in an earlier episode confided in her superhero friend that she was having her first period.
I don't know why that has to be included.
Sophia told Baymax about her menstrual cycle during an intimate conversation in an all-gender bathroom just before she was supposed to perform at a school talent show. I wasn't prepared for this, an anxious Sophia tells Baymax. And the dispenser's empty, and I don't even have a thing, a tampad, a pad pon, a maxi pad pon with wings, ? Eager to help his friend, Baymax heads to the supermarket to go shopping for some period products. Nobody wants to see this.
When he is in the supermarket aisle, a man wearing a shirt emblazoned with the transgender flag, be more subtle, please, offers up his own recommended product. I always get the ones with wings, the transgender man tells Baymax.
What? Wait, is Baymax the kid? No,
Baymax is the...
Baymax is the robot.
Okay.
He asked a woman in the woman's hygiene aisle, it says, the bewildered woman who initially wears a shocked look on her face tells Baymax, well, these are the tampons I usually use. Why are we talking to kids about tampons in kids' television shows?
It's in the first place,
important.
Why is that even part of the plot? And you're saying that to kids who have not even reached puberty yet, whose parents have not even spoken to them about that yet. They're taking the place of parents.
This is one of those things, man. A lot of times before we started doing this podcast, I have to ask myself, am I crazy or is everyone else crazy?
No, it's everyone else.
Why is this being made for children?
This is the crisis. When this show is
a pop culture crisis.
Yes, this is what it is. This is the pop culture crisis. Is that companies like Disney are attempting to control the narrative and I don't know if grooms the word, but teach kids about whatever they want, with indiscretion, as long as it's not super overt. But like you were saying, this isn't subtle.
He's wearing a transgender flag shirt. I don't know how you can get less
it's
subtle.
It's a corporation
than that.
that's doing this. This is crazy.
And you know that they had that was very deliberate. You have to have a conversation about that in a writer's room, that we're intentionally going to incorporate this into the plot.
It's just it boggles my I don't care, but the trans thing doesn't bother me. It's the fact that we're talking about periods with children.
The trans thing bothers me. Why? Because it, just like a period, it's something that is for a parent to discuss with their child.
And the logos, it's also the lack of artfulness, the inability to actually be subtle in any way. Is even more that's offensive to my artistic sensibilities.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's offensive to my artistic sensibilities.
Let me figure it out.
We all know that in real life, trans people, they just walk around with T-shirts that have a trans flag on them.
I know, it does a disservice.
So you know
that
they're trans, right? That's what they do.
Exactly. They beat you over the head with it because it's marketed to kids. Because they know that the kids are too young to understand it, so they have to force it in there in a way.
So at this point, kids are watching this, or they're on YouTube watching rogue YouTubers show them Spider-Man and Elsa just mind sludge.
I'm an advocate of protecting your children from seeing the internet, but also movies now. Okay, that's part of this now.
So let's. I want to talk about the D. Snider thing really quick. I got two more things I want to talk about, which is the. Do you remember when D. Snider, when Donald Trump, God forbid, we're talking about him again. He was using the song "We're Not Gonna Take It" at his rallies early on, and then D. Snider's basically you can't use that song. You remember that? Well, he's got a. Remember when I said that Marvel is just using celebrities are just using Marvel as a way of staying relevant? Well, D. Snider is making a comic book. Yes, that's a thing. Believe it or not. Twisted Sister frontman D. Snider debuts anti-censorship He's Not Gonna Take It graphic novel draped in American flags after he told a dude running for president that he couldn't use his song because he didn't like what he had to say. I understand that that's not a one-to-one comparison, but bear with me. Twisted Sister vocalist and free speech advocate D. Snider has joined forces with Z2 Comics for a new graphic novel chronicling the Rockers' 1985 clash with Tipper Gore. Remember this? You might remember this. The satanic panic in rock music was the devil, and it was Tipper Gore and the Parents Music Research Center.
Yeah, Tipper
over the First Amendment.
Tipper Gore got all those parental advisory things put on rap albums and stuff, or any albums really, but a lot of rap albums got it.
So it says, Comics of Z2, Z2 Comics has officially announced He's Not Gonna Take It, the title of which is an obvious reference to the Twisted Sister hit 1984 song We're Not Gonna Take It, which, by the way, Adam Baldwin loves and had played in a bunch of his scenes in the show Chuck, where he goes around and beats up bad guys. And Adam Baldwin's like a super libertarian and really funny. Like I like watching it like all fall apart for everyone. It's like I wonder if he's like, I can't like this song anymore because Dee Snider's a douche. Like I'm guessing not, but yeah. So he says,
it's a good song.
He says he famously drew the ire of the PMRC. He's not going to take it. Comes from Snider himself, alongside writer Frank Marafino, who did Marvel Zombies, and artist Steve Kurth, who did X-Force, if those are recent runs. More than 35 years ago, Twisted Sister frontman Dee Snider marched into the United States Senate Committee on Commerce in a jean jacket and tank top to confront a band of concerned Washington housewives hell-bent on silencing the howl of metal and beyond. I can just picture the...
Could you be more out of touch?
I know. it's literally vanity project. It's hilarious. So I don't know if anybody here really cares about Dee Snider or.
Oh, I'm totally into this. Yeah, what's he doing exactly? What's he pushing up against right now? Censorship in general?
Yeah, I have no idea who he's.
Amen,
no, he's not. No, he's not up against censorship now. He's talking about the censorship he faced, not modern day censorship. He's not talking about tech censorship. He's not talking about political censorship. He's saying a bunch of mean old Tipper Gore and other housewives of politicians who needed a vanity project to work on in the 80s because won't you think of the children? He's saying that he's basically reliving his salad days and is now making us relive it in the form of a comic book, which I take personal offense to. So, okay, I'm being a little bit hyperbolic here, but I'm not going to be buying this. But if you guys would like to buy this, that's going to be coming out. I do like the art a little bit here. I do love that that's, I guess that's supposed to be Tipper Gore in the back with evil eyes. Oh. Because there's nothing more evil than like a politician's wife. With too much time on her hands.
I mean,
getting
not wrong.
Getting labels slapped on your album so that people have to be 17 or older to hear you swear. So we'll go to that. And then before we finish and before we do super chats, we're going to finish with Alec Baldwin being Alec Baldwin. Womp, womp.
Womp,
He's
womp.
good at that.
He is. Alec Baldwin vows to find a man who tweeted about Rust shooting because these people are so... You would imagine, like, you hear about Ezra...
It's the hubris of Alec Baldwin that continues to shock me.
To me, it's like, don't you have more things to do than argue with people on Twitter? Like, I am but a lowly podcast person, and I don't have time to sit on Twitter and argue with people. You're Alec frickin' Baldwin. You made 30 Rock and then killed Helena Hutchins. Okay, I don't know if he did that on purpose, but he did.
He killed her.
He
I
killed
don't know
her.
whether that's on purpose is up to the jury to decide.
Yes. So it says Alec Baldwin snapped back at a Twitter user who made a joke about the shooting on the set of Rust and vowed to find the man. I'll find you, Mike, Baldwin wrote in his now deleted tweet. Have you ever noticed how much of the problems come from people who then end up deleting their tweets anyways? Does nobody have the self-control to like type it out and just stop for like 2 minutes and be like, is this a good idea?
That's not what Twitter is designed for.
I know.
It's designed for you to do it impulsively.
I deleted a tweet last night, but it was because of formatting. It wasn't contextual. It was I screen capped that they were talking about the liberal economic order. I'm like, my dreams are coming true. But then I posted the picture and it was all warped. I had to delete it.
We are so close to a second crisis
I know, it's about to happen. Make it happen.
It's literally a millimeter away.
Join us. So he has all this time on his hands to just, I guess, yell at at the people who work at his house in his weird Woody Allen interview. He interviewed Woody Allen because that's what the world needs.
Wait, he yelled at people
in his house? At like his house, like the housekeeper. There's a really funny video of him yelling in Spanish at the woman who works. Yeah, it's
that's so much funnier, like considering that his white wife pretends that she's from Spain. Ilaria.
Yeah, her name's
she doesn't know the English word for cucumber.
Despite the fact that Baldwin took the comment down, the tweet was widely shared and distributed across social media. They never know how to just stop themselves from talking. The incident occurred on Wednesday when Baldwin tweeted out criticism of Trump, blah, blah, blah. He tried to choke a Secret Service agent, blah, blah, blah. And then the guy responds to him, better than shooting your cinematographer. Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
I mean, I just think any normal person who is not a sociopath might just step out of the public eye for a while instead.
But he is a sociopath. Well, I don't know him personally, but he's acting like he's off the hook for this thing.
Thank you.
I don't know if it's a murder, but this killing.
He literally said that he doesn't feel guilty.
Yeah. which is not normal. Like if you kill someone,
yeah, he should have checked the gun, so he should feel guilty about
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Even if it was unintentional, the normal human emotion in response to that would be guilt.
The average person feels guilty.
By the way,
the average person feels guilty. Like if you get say somebody dies accidentally, it's still normal to normal human emotion to feel guilt, even if it's not your fault. Yeah. To not feel guilt at all is weird.
And to admit it.
I would think even if you had to do it because it was like the person was suffering and you're like, what do I do? I'm not just going to leave them here to die alone and starve to death. I need to finish them quickly. Like there would still be guilt in that. I killed a mouse once that was stuck on a glue trap because he was never getting off the glue trap. Mm-hmm. So I took his life, and I still feel guilty about it. Like it was a horrible feeling.
And to not feel any guilt over somebody losing their life, that just boggles my mind. So, all right, do you want to do super chats?
Yes. Unavailable ID name said, "We always need more pop culture crisis."
Yes.
So true. Bad app. I'm not gonna read that, even though it made me laugh.
Wait, which one?
It was a higher. I'm not gonna read it though.
Okay. All right.
James R. I can't say that. Said Buzz Lightyear cartoon was good though. Movie then show started with Woody loading a VHS of Buzz's cartoon. Then it went on to a good show.
Yeah, Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. It's actually.
Did you watch it?
I watched it.
When did you watch it?
It's old. Yep. By the way, that Goofy one, even if she's not going to read it, that was hilarious.
It was.
I will read it. I will read it to myself off air.
Unavailable ID name said, "I love how the movie is called Lightyear. That isn't really about Buzz Lightyear. Everyone loved Encanto too, and I didn't get that either. The music was awesome, but there was something off about the movie. Pixar is trash."
They keep talking about how like the bad guy in all the Pixar movies now is just like your family. Like
that's so weird. Yeah, I never thought about that before.
Yep. They hate family.
Well, is that the case in Toy Story?
No,
not in the first one.
In the new one, Buzz is literally the bad guy in the new one. What? Like a clone. Like you'd have to watch. I don't want to spoil it for people who. I was reading spoilers. Really.
Bad App said Baymax looks like a robot tampon. That made me laugh too.
Name you won't read.
Oh, wait, what was the next one?
Name you won't read.
Said, this is how the creepers sneak agenda ideology to kids. More parental control filters thwarted.
Yeah, like this is one of those things. Like when we do this show, like I want to invite like an audience here who can watch this show who don't really care about the politics of it all. I don't think today was. It's not like we're talking about policy, but these worlds have become so inextricably linked that it's almost impossible that the crisis in the name of this podcast has to be talked about. And I want people who may not really be aware that this is going on to also feel like they can come in here. We're normal people. We are not, I'm not a hateful person. Mary's not a hateful person. You're not a hateful person. But we do have concerns over things that are being done in the name of the American people by Hollywood. And like they were talking about earlier with, when he was talking about what movies get your American messages portrayed to other countries, right? I don't want Hollywood portraying my American values to other countries because Hollywood doesn't represent our values or who we are.
And we don't even agree on what those messages are anymore.
Exactly.
So
calling it Hollywood too is very old, 90s, 2000. Like it's no longer Hollywood. Just because the Paramount Studios is in Hollywood, people can make movies anywhere on Earth now with this technology is super cheap relative to 15 years ago.
It really stays Hollywood because of the tax credits and the write-offs that come from working there. I mean, so much of cinema is filmed in. I mean, a lot of Hollywood now is not filmed in Hollywood. It's filmed in Canada. It's filmed in Vancouver, or it's filmed in Georgia. It's a huge one for tax write-off. Chicago. All these places have great programs that allow movies to be shows. New York does as well, but New York is such an expensive place to be anyways that Chicago. That's why Dick Wolf moved all of the like Chicago PD, Chicago. That's why he chose Chicago as a place because Chicago has great stories to tell, but also it's friendly to producers and to studios that want to work there for cheaper.
It's Atlanta, right? In Georgia, Atlanta?
Atlanta,
There's a lot of Atlanta.
Yep.
Unavailable ID name said the real anti-heroes, superheroes are in the comic The Boys, the Amazon Prime show too.
Yep. I'm not currently watching it. I am, however, going to watch The Terminalist this weekend. That is my. I heard it called Dad. It was like Dad Super. It was like Dad action hero stuff,
That's
and I am
exactly
in.
what Brett loves.
I am in.
Hot dad action,
Sign me.
yeah.
Exactly. Sign me up.
Hero.
That
Talk about a
app
real
said,
superhero.
D. Snider looks like he takes it. That's funny.
He looks like he takes it anymore.
That app said, do you guys get to keep all the cash flying out, or do you put it back in the stripper machine?
We fix the stripper machine every day, and we
Well,
double check the
actually,
stripper machine to make sure
Half
it's
the
working.
dollar bills are real and half of them are fake. So if you want the real ones, you have to kind of sift through them.
And then we come up here and we're like, what are you doing looking through all that money? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That guy said, crisis time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Unavailable ID name said, Alex Baldwin, I think you mean Alec Baldwin, has long since not been the best Baldwin. Long live Jane Cobb, the true Baldwin. Adam.
Adam Baldwin, who is not a member of the Baldwin family, is the best Baldwin, even if he is not a Baldwin.
There's also an Ireland Baldwin that we see in headlines sometimes.
I just saw Norm Macdonald, a video about him talking about the Baldwins last night, which reminded me about Backdraft, which I think is Stephen Baldwin.
Yeah.
So I watched a clip from that. Forgot Kurt Russell was in it. I mean, what a great cast. Robert De Niro was in it.
There's another Baldwin that's younger.
There's 4 of them.
There's the other one. I don't know. I don't remember the other one's name. He's been in a lot of, like, the other Baldwin never reached the fame of Alec, but he's like, he looks just like him. He's just skinnier.
Is Stephen?
It might be Stephen Baldwin.
Yeah, the thin one, the star of Backdraft.
Yeah. So that's I long since stopped caring about the Baldwins. 30 Rock is off the air. I will give Alec Baldwin 30 Rock. That's all he gets credit for.
Oh, it was William Baldwin.
William Baldwin. That's the one I'm thinking of. But Adam Baldwin is the best. He's the one you remember. He
made Gamergate.
He made Gamergate.
Adam Baldwin, no relation.
No relation.
Who knew?
He which I'm sure he's now proud of. Like,
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure
Play
he's
it up,
like
dude.
it's like Adam Baldwin, not Alec. That's what he should put in his Twitter profile.
He was great in what was that war movie in the 80s?
Adam Baldwin?
Yeah, Adam
Baldwin.
Baldwin.
I just
He
remember
played
him from-
Mother.
He was in Chuck. And then he was also in the Ship, which is really good. So both very, very good shows.
It's one of the Full Metal Jacket.
Yes. Okay.
Full Metal Jacket. That was kind of a splash onto the scene, I think.
Vincent D'Onofrio as well.
He was nuts in that.
Yep.
Both those guys were.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, Ian. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was great, man.
Let everyone know where they can find you.
Well, you can find me tonight on Timcast IRL at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find me at iancrossland.net. If you want to follow me on social media, hit me up through that.
Perfect.
It sure was.
It
It was
good
absolute perfection.
2 crisis parties. That doesn't
Yeah.
happen very often.
100%.
I think we
Thank
got
you guys.
Nailed it.
twice this week. So, Mary, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram or WeChat at Closer Kitty. And whenever I post articles on timcast.com, I promote them there.
She does. Guys, you can find me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic. The show right here, youtube.com/popculturecrisis, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's noon Pacific. Now, we will be off Monday for the 4th of July, and then we are actually only going to have shows on Tuesday and Wednesday next week. We've got I've got some stuff. Thank you. I've got some stuff coming up next week. So Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we will be back regular scheduled program the week after. But we are still going to be having content coming out. We're going to produce some content so that stuff still comes out on Thursday and Friday. So look for that. Other than that, we are on social media. We are on Twitter at popculture_show. We are on Facebook and TikTok at popculturecrisis, and on Instagram at popculturecrisispod. We will be back with another episode on Tuesday. We'll see you then, guys. Bye.
Bye.